Good afternoon, everyone. It's always tough to have a post-lunch session, and I think it's very visible. We have lost a lot of our colleagues and friends to the lunch, but let's start this. So, firstly, thank you so much for joining us, and hope you're having a good time since morning. There have been very, very interesting sessions and perspectives on how technology and all can help shape retail and e-commerce. So, continuing on the same theme, for the next 30 odd minutes, we're going to discuss in terms of how tech, data, and cloud and the newer technologies are enabling the e-commerce revolution. And I'm sure our esteemed panel is going to make it very interesting and share their views, which would be useful for you. So, without much ado, I'll start with Anil. Maybe each of you could do a quick round of introduction.
Good afternoon. My name is Anil, and I head IT for Lulu Group India. We are largely into retail, real estate, hospitality, flight kitchens, and logistics. So that's the current caps which we wear.
Anvesha.
Hi, I'm Anvesha. I lead digital and e-commerce for the home care business for Unilever. So this includes all laundry and home cleaning products, your Surf Excel, Vim, Comfort, Domex, hopefully. All of you have used something or the other at some point in your lives. So that's about me.
Hello, this is Narasimha. I had the data science AI practice at Make My Trip, which I hope most of you have used, and if not, please do use. So, besides Make My Trip and GoIVibo, there are the two brands for which we do a very diverse set of data science, AI, ML solutions, given the lines of business straddle across flights, hotels, and other modes of transportation.
Hi, I'm Thulasi. Tata CLiQ is an e-commerce luxury platform, so I take care of the entire technology.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I am Vedula, partner, and I lead the consumer and retail sector for the enterprise tech in Deloitte, India. And with that, we kickstart. So maybe we will think of, okay, so we all are aware that there's a massive e-commerce revolution, which is almost like a revolution, right? The boom has become like a revolution where our groceries are getting delivered in under 10 minutes to buying jewelry online. Everything pretty much is available. It's become a way of our life. So if I would say, what's the one thing or one word? I'm sure many things have contributed, but if one thing or one word comes to your mind on what has caused this revolution, maybe Anil, I'll just go in the same order.
No brainer in that. Pandemic for sure.
Pandemic,
and
great.
the need for being connected.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say
Anvesha.
shifting consumer behavior.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically the rising middle class and the shifting consumer behavior. Convenience.
Obviously, the access to internet and the digital payment modes, which is what Anil also and Anvesha also had mentioned.
I would bet on mobile. People don't know they're still carrying a laptop or a computer in their hand. It's that powerful.
Great. So I think, yes, the answer lies in all of these and more in terms of what has really helped us, this e-commerce revolution. But behind all of this, we cannot forget the trio of data, cloud, and technology, which is really powering this whole revolution. Without the three of those, in each of those, I think they would be touching upon each of those. Those are the three key pillars which is really driving this revolution. And maybe we will just discuss with the panel in terms of how they have found that in their own businesses and what examples and how we can all relate to that. So maybe we'll start, Anil, since in your role, what is your tech vision and tech strategy, and how do you think tech is playing a role for Lulu hypermarket, which is, while it is in omni-channel, it's still a physical brick and mortar store. People like to come and touch and feel and buy groceries and all. So what's your view, and how much is technology helping you grow your business and improve your efficiencies?
With no doubt, technology is now the backbone. It was the backbone, now they've been recognized as a backbone, I have to say. From the culture which we come from, we are more data center driven partners, if I have to say. With Lulu, what we are doing now is there's so much of technology coming in, and it's ever changing, right? Every quarter we have a new technology, augmented technology, or something coming out. What we try to do is we have started adopting cloud a lot in terms of having that litmus test. Figure out whether this really works for you or not work for you, and then start looking at whether it should go back to the data center or should it be at the cloud, and so on and so forth. Previously, we were only purely data center, and it takes time for really going and testing your litmus on the market, right? Now it's become to quite an easy task. And with collaborative partners, which we are going through, they are already born on cloud. They have products which are more SaaS driven and others, right? So our communication with them or our strategy with them is such that you let us know how it works, what works for us, and then let's then take a call about where do I keep it in the first place. Second, from a data perspective, thanks to COVID, sorry if I have to say so, it may sound long, but there's a lot of data collection which is happening now due to this digital transformation which is happening. For us, at some point of time, it becomes overwhelming with so much of data. So for us, data strategy has gone to a level where we have started identifying which data makes sense to us, which doesn't make sense to us. So today, I suppose people have moved out from pre-COVID and post-COVID, my sales have gone up. That's all gone up because the whole customer experience, customer expectations have gone leaps and bounds. Right? So what we try to do is now we start using AI and other factors on data, one to even classify what type of data, and then start moving into the larger outputs of data. That's more from a strategy perspective and making sure that with AI I would really call it as a more augmented form of technology. We used to have AR, VR, we used to have BI and all of that. AI is more of an augmented, this whole technology stack and going ahead. Next comes the quantum edge technologies and others. So we are just getting prepared to that. That's where we are looking for ourselves.
Thank you so much, Anil. Thanks for that. So maybe on a segue for that, Mr. Narasimha, since you have built in a lot of AI use cases and all, maybe you just want to touch upon how you have been using technology, because all of you, especially both of you, Tata CLiQ and Make My Trip is predominantly, I mean, it is an online e-commerce. So do you want to touch upon how AI is helping and how the data analytics?
Since Make My Trip is the wheel which is bringing two parties together, customers and the supply, the AI, I would say rather the AI, ML, data science journey has begun quite a few years ago, solving customers' problems both on the funnel side as well as on the supply side, and for the business, which is at the center. So starting with like what should we kind of recommend, what kind of hotels we should recommend, and how do we personalize that so that we also show what customers like, at the same time give or maximize the opportunity for the various hotels which may be good, which are good, but then they don't have an opportunity to get the impressions. And the journey has started from ranking, recommendation systems, pricing on the customer side. On the supply side, we do quite a bit of data science initiatives. And besides pricing, in post-sales, in customer support also, we do some initiatives there. So all these have, besides this, there are unique products like Price Lock, trip guarantee for Bharat customers, where we predict what is by when a train ticket will get confirmed, or how the demand changes, etc. And various other travel fintech products as well. So that was the era with which we had touched upon to help customers, and that obviously invariably helps the business as well. So the journey has started first with not with the complex models, but with the simpler models. And there is a saying that I often quote, if you can measure something, you can improve. What you cannot measure, you can't improve. So you need to have systems with which you can experiment. You can experiment and then measure objectively how they affect your business, right? So we have such A/B experimentation systems in place, and we continuously run various experiments, starting with simpler models to complex models. And off late, of course, we are leveraging speech to text, large language models for various applications, like not just for search, but for content enrichment. Some of these areas, and then in post sales, for example, creating assist bots, and even very simple tasks like email rephrasing, it actually helps a lot to the customer support agents as well, because not all of them are well trained in English. So there are a few simple things which can have a very good ROI as well. And then there are other things where good amount of data experimentation and discipline has to be put in place. So it has been a good journey so far, and almost all areas of Make My Trip are touched by data and data driven models and systems now.
Thank you so much.
Just
Yes,
to add to
Thulasi.
that, so the moment you hit a home page of Tata CLiQ, right, you'll be surprised there are 20 or 30 ML models running. It just gives you what is recommended for you, what is bought together, nearest one based on the location. And the other one is the pricing, as Narasimha covered. And based on your gender, we try to give you preferences, what kind of outlook, bought together, sold together, many things. The other one we want to say is right now we are also using, lot of we are trying most of the use cases in Gen. One of the thing which was successful for us, before that we were used to give a 3-week ad shoot take, and then by the time it releases to the media, it takes 3 weeks. Now we use Gen. So it's hardly 2 to 3 days for us to create for a sale. So, and every week or every month we have a sale always on a platform. So this is really helping us to create a variety of media, which enables us from 3 weeks to almost 2 days.
Awesome. So there's absolutely a clear business use case out here. Thank you so much. So continuing with on the same theme, Anvesha, so in your role as an e-commerce lead, would you want to share some insights on how the technology is helping you and how you're leveraging, and do you see any insights which are helping you grow your business or improve your efficiencies?
Yes, so as Anil mentioned, technology is the backbone. And I see technology as an enabler, right? So if you have a use case that you want to solve for, today with the kind of technologies that are available in the market as well as what can be really built, if you have a requirement, you will end up finding how to solve it through tech. So the idea is that you are clear about what is the problem that you want to solve for. Consumer-centric company, for us, it is a lot about what is it that we can do to solve the problem for the consumer, and how can we understand our consumer better. So what we try to do is to really understand what are the kind of signals that we need, because there's a problem of plenty. Like, you will have a lot of data, but more important is to actually have an actionable insight and to be able to really do something about it. So like, for example, we build something called the super segments, where we say, okay, can we understand who are the people who own washing machines? Now, these kind of data signals are not by default. Out of the box solutions won't give you these kinds of signals. So how can we do experiments, interventions which can help us with this kind of data, and hence we build cohorts, because it's important for us to know that this consumer owns a washing machine, this consumer owns a dishwasher, or these are consumers who are fragrance seekers, these are consumers who are, really want a super premium, luxury kind of an experience. So basically, if you need to understand these kinds of cohorts and really build marketing towards these, you need the right kind of, hence, technologies in place to kind of build that for you. And also then, once you have these in place, can you actually translate these into having the maximum use of these being implemented? Because a lot of data loss happens across, it traveling between different platforms. So how do you make sure that whatever you have as a repository is put to the best use and to the most efficient use when it goes out? So that's one of the things that we continuously keep looking at, solving for, and which is what, we kind of really focus on.
Great. Thanks, Anvesha. Thanks for your views. So that leads to my the next one. So now, obviously, three of you are in a business which is predominantly e-commerce, whereas it's still a brick and mortar. So maybe I'll start again with you, Anvesha, while we are at you. This whole personalization, right? That's the key word, right? Everybody is expecting results. We all expect that it remembers what we say. So how much is personalization important? And is there something called too much personalization? Is there, how much is too much? And is that conflicting with the brand's central message in this whole view of making it too personal for each of the customer. Just thought I'll take views from all of you, but yeah, maybe we'll start with Anvesha.
So there's a delicate balance that you need to maintain between personalization and, so to say, brand consistency. About hyper-personalization, I think one lesson that I learned, when I was, in one of my previous organizations where we were just trying out, it's quite a few years ago, but that's where this whole thought of hyper-personalization came to me, because we were trying to do this where we said that, okay, somebody, when they come to the website and they browse a certain way, the next time they come, we, of course, had the stack that could enable it. It would just completely start from where they left. So it would just completely change the content basis their last browsing. So in theory, it sounds great because you're saying that, hey, I understand your journey and I'm kind of trying to help you pick up from where you left off. But in reality, we actually saw like our drop-offs considerably increasing. And then we did like a consumer understanding, we did a survey, we tried to understand what exactly is happening, and we realized that there is a certain consistency that consumers expect when they come to our platform, and if it gets disrupted every time, and because paint, like this was for the paint cycle, so when it's a painting cycle, then you obviously have to come back, right, for a few times, and every time if you see your experience being disrupted, it kind of gets to you and you're not able to complete that journey in that way, right? So it's about how much do you really need to personalize, and also, personalization definitely is something that people expect. I mean, all of us, me and you, we expect a certain level of, we all sometimes question, why is this ad being served to me? Like, because you have that inherent expectation of the advertiser to understand you, that you should be served ads that are most relevant to you. So that's a basic expectation. But as a brand, you have to have your core consistent messaging that you keep on, and your customization happens, say, more in the tactical elements, like say maybe a discount, an offer, or the way you're talking to the consumer. Like, is it to give it a crude example, is it a cat lover you're talking to or a dog lover you're talking to? But ultimately, if you're talking about the fact that dirt is good, dirt is good. That's not going to change. So brand consistency is super important. You have your core brand values, your core brand ethos, your tonality, that doesn't change. But of course, the context and where, in what language, in what, at what platform, in what situation are you talking to the consumer, you basically just gonna tailor that. And we have enough technology, to enable that. But I think that's the balance that you need to strike.
Yeah, thank you. So maybe Narasimha, if you could just continue on the same topic in terms of personalization and your views.
Yeah. As Anvesha said, personalization is something which is happening almost everywhere. Most of the products or the information that we consume, there are some elements of personalization being done, including advertisements as well. So, if I speak with respect to the in the context of Make My Trip and Travel, personalization itself is a very multi-dimensional theme, right? So, end of the day, personalization should show what is relevant and also diverse set of recommendations without kind of spoiling the user experience. But it does help customers. It also helps the business and helps the supply. So, what one should keep in mind, however, is, and it is possible, that we don't overuse or treat on the customer's data beyond what is necessary, and only when customers have kind of given the consent. And one other dimension that we also keep in mind is there any dark pattern here? Inadvertently, are we kind of recommending something, personalizing too much, or doing maybe even outside personalization, some kind of user experience element, which may be a dark pattern, right? So we keep an eye on that as well, and then kind of take one step back and then recalibrate. But overall, personalization has really done wonders to Make My Trip at various levels. product recommendation, messaging, cross-sell, in every line of business.
I would like to break into three pieces. First one for us is like for us, when you go for search or auto suggest, right? Before that, out of 4 people, only 1 person was using your auto suggest. Now in the last, after using your ML, training ML, out of 4, 3 people are using your auto suggestions. So it means people are connecting with the system more. The second thing I want to say is like, because of the recommendation, our CTR rate has increased from 12 to 15% more based on the brand. The third one I want to say is like, see, it's like this, we want to figure it out what to show, recommend. So one of the things use case our team tried was identify the gender based on the name, right? So it was successful, but it failed for me. It always identifies as female, but overall it is a successful one. It was, I mean, based on that, we were able to increase our sales. So basically it helps. There are nuances to it, but training a model and then figuring out, doing an A/B and then deploying it in production, it's always a risk involved in it, but it eventually pays off.
So yeah, continuing with you, Anil, I mean, obviously it's a different business, but how do you manage personalization and still Lulu is...
While we are on online space also, hyper-personalization is very subjective. Every person has his own thought around hyper-personalization, and how much of that really works for that person is his own guess, his or her own guess. From a hyper-personalization perspective, one, to answer your query at how much of hyper-personalization is good personalization or bad personalization, it's largely an iterative aspect, right? How much of us as a brands are going back to the customer and asking, is my communication good enough? Yeah. I see very few. I start keeping on getting on messages, SMS, WhatsApp. You know which channel I prefer. So that is bombarded. But no one comes and asks me, you know what, Anil, are you okay with it? Do you want more of it? Do you want less of it? So that is like NPS score, we don't have anything around that. That's something which largely as an industry, we start looking into one part of it. Second, hyper-personalization or personalization is largely a output of what data you're carrying. What is the quality of data you're carrying, right? Now, I from a marketing, sorry, no offense, but all the marketing department guys will say that, you know, I have the data, let's push it around, right? But no one is actually looking at what is the index of that data, right? How good is it or how bad is it? Are we doing a continuous refresh around it? Like I said, when Anil always comes in, do you figure out whether he's a cat lover or a dog lover, and every start. I may have changed. Are you making an attempt to see whether I have changed, or do I have my preferences changed? I don't see large of that happening around the industry, but yeah, so few of them are doing it. So from an hyper-personalization, this is our take, because online, offline, we both present at both ends. For us, the attribute of a profile has increased multiple folds because of digitalization coming in. What we try to do is a regular check on this data to figure out how much of this data is relevant to us and how much of personalization is really a personalization for that person. I can segment it around a profile and say that this works for me. We have now just started going back and asking to your customer, saying that, is it okay with you? Are you looking at something else? Not on this straight question as men, but yeah, from a different channel, saying that how it goes.
Yeah, but on a lighter note, you have cracked the personalization. We all know when Lulu stores open, how many people come in. So yeah, so I think, so okay, on that, I think coming back to our topic, so I think I've heard a lot of data, right? We've all heard data. So maybe I'll just ask you a quick question on this Personal Data Protection Act, Mr. Thulasi. So what's your view on that, and how is it going to help that this data is not misused and it's not sold to some telemarketers and all?
Even today, right, whenever you connect with any business, right, they know they use your data.
Yeah.
And you still don't know how they are using it. Are you okay with it? So this is the thing which is addressing it. See, many European countries have that law, how to use your privacy data, private, public. But India, I think it's a good thing. Now you can go and modify the data. You can say that you are not interested, or you can say that, yes, I'm fine with it. See, these options were not there. And the second thing what we are trying to tell them is, See, now you get to know, I process your data for this following use cases, and then I give it to the third party also. So these kind of, more for the consumer, whether how your data is used. And the other thing is how it is going to be addressed when you have an issue. The other way I can say is, see, going forward, whenever you design a system, right, you always think, okay, availability, scalability, maintainability. But going forward, one of the NFR will be data privacy. How are you going to handle it? Because once it is archived, you cannot delete it and it cannot be reused. And there are rules for us to store the data for 10 long years. How are you going to ensure that it will not be used? So it's going to be a very challenging across the system for us, but as a consumer, it's a good thing. You get to know how they are using it and whether you are okay, are you giving the consent or fine with it.
Great. So, again, coming back to that, like you just said in terms of the storage and all, right? Just wanted to understand if your businesses are already on cloud, are they on-prem, and do you feel that cloud is also going to make a huge difference, and are you on a journey to cloud? Just maybe your experiences.
Let me take it. We are 100% on cloud. We usually we are on AWS. The advantages for us is most of the whenever every month or a week we have a sale, so I don't need to plan for the capacity every 6 months or 1 year. So I can use how much of I need. The second thing is we know the pattern, right? We know when the people come more to our sites, less. So based on that, we have scaled our systems only on that particular day also. The third one we get to know is most of the time you don't need to solve all of the things. You just need to solve what is essential for the business. So with kind of these cloud providers, right, they give you most of the solutions in hand. You just need to use them. So for example, I run my own Kafka for my Elasticsearch or my containerized logging. But for a mission critical thing, I use a managed Kafka because there are use cases which I can take a hit, but there are business use cases I need a SLA or a support. So cloud really provides you with all the features, functionalities, systems, and the scale is something which is useful for us. You don't need to pay upfront, right? It really helps for us.
Thanks. So, Narasimha, would you like to add to that in terms of on cloud, or what are your experiences, and whether your data centers are within India and how are you protecting all
Yeah, we are in cloud, but in India, so data is local. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Anvesha, any views would you like to share on that?
I think it's just about, the scalability always is like it gets improved. Of course, the privacy norms come into play, and what he was talking about, the explicit consent. I think one thing that we've realized, when we used to think that let's just get the consent, and some brands also do that, a lot of implicit consent, like it's by default, right? But what you actually realize is that when you have an explicit consent from the consumer, and then when they have specifically expressed an interest in engaging with you, your actual value from the data is far higher. So even if it is lower volume of data, it is still more useful. So I think that's one thing that we as businesses need to keep in mind. And I think from the cloud perspective, I think it is more about having it convenient, scalable, and it gives you a lot more leeway to really do something, like really use that data and be able to analyze that at scale. So I think that way is it's a perfect solution. Anil.
I think the term on-prem and cloud, that was old. I say now. It's now the world is on hybrid. Yeah. It's depending on your application and your data set and your processes which you want to really scale up. You make your choice, either on-prem or cloud. Say for example, a customer, new app coming out, so on and so forth. Cloud makes sense. But how much of that data really need to be on cloud and how much can be kept on-prem is something which is a strategical move. It moves from organization to organization depending on what they are looking at. So for us, from Lulu perspective, we are on hybrid and we will be on hybrid for long, right? It's only the decision which comes from a strategy point of view and the scalability point of view on which ones to go ahead with and which ones not to go ahead with.
Got it. So essentially, eventually, the businesses are going to move on cloud, which would help them to get their analytics on the data and all of those much faster, which would lead to eventually this. But that also poses another question: cyber security, right? Security is, I mean, all of this is great, but one data breach can completely bring down the whole of the system. So maybe, Narasimha, I would ask you, and I mean, I'll go around the table on this.
I think, I can speak on behalf of Make My Trip. Like, we have almost like 7 to 8 different layers of security, and the security system is very rich. And thanks to the very robust uh, security DevOps systems that we have, and the teams that we have at Make My Trip, very mature, have many layers of protection. Uh, so it's possible, but yes, irrespective of where your data is stored, yeah, cybersecurity issues have to kind of uh, there must always be that kind of deterring mechanism. So I'm just saying what is obvious.
Absolutely.
So, but what I can speak on behalf of Make My Trip is that we have a very robust security layers, and even compared to the market of a similar brands or others that we have seen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So maybe Anvesha and Anil, and then I'll come to you, Tulsi. Yeah.
So I think security definitely is paramount. I think more than cyber security, of course, that is something that is a non-negotiable. As brands also, we need to understand what is the kind of data that is really important to collect. So whenever we look at collecting identifiable data, we do something called the privacy risk assessment, which we have to go through before we start collecting that data. We need to first understand, is this data really critical? Do I need all fields that I'm looking at, or can I let go of some parameters that I don't need to collect? So do you need to collect that level of information, and what use it is going to be put to use? So the moment you kind of try making conscious choices around that, you also know that you have, the chunk of data that's really important to you, and you're only collecting that much. So that also helps you in, having a stronger hold on your cybersecurity as well. But I mean, that's a thin line between privacy and personalization that we tread on. But definitely, privacy is paramount.
Absolutely. Yes,
I
Anil.
would say carry your ammunitions in the jungle, right? While most of us are having our security mesh, which is right there, but you understand that the technologies are changing, the people are changing, the thought process are changing, and AI will change it even better. So why not use AI to safeguard us, and also make sure that obviously what is running right now will run now, but to find, like the way we try to find opportunities running AI on our data sets for the customer, why don't we run AI on our current tools and our current informations and logs which we carry, and then figure out what next? Because while we move one step, the other world is moving 10 steps ahead, right? So let's try to catch up. It's a journey which is go on. No matter you have data, you not have data. Yes, one rightly said, how much of data should we be carrying and how much of data really can be curated is something which should be run on an almost quarterly basis to figure out there is less of gaps.
Absolutely. Coming to you, Tulsi.
I would like to add this. See, security can be again multiple pieces, right? For us, who is accessing the data, what kind of, whether it is encrypted at rest, encrypted at even through while we are sending across the system. The second thing we see is who is accessing the system and why is accessing it. The third part again is something like, because we are on cloud, there are multiple endpoints where it can hit us. So we do our, through the build itself, we do VAPT every 6 months, 1 year. Sometimes there are security code, static code analysis part of the build service so that our systems won't break. Say, for example, I can say you a couple of years back, there was a Sudanese mail saying that our system has been hacked. So we ran around like chickenless. We couldn't find out, but eventually we found out that the system is too big, right? You cannot protect all the places. Thank God it was just an anonymous call. But what we found out is there are places we can still strengthen the system. And it's very complicated over the years, right? When the systems grow, right, you cannot plan for everything. So the way you have to say is, as you do testing before the release, even security has to be taken as part of part of the build or the release process.
Absolutely. So I think that's a good summary in terms of while there'll be tech and advancements in tech, we cannot compromise on security, and the needs to increase and strengthen the security will increase more and more. Like shifting the gears a little, while we've kind of established the use of tech and data in the businesses, maybe talent. That's the next biggest thing. So, what do you, maybe I'll ask all of you in terms of how this is also giving an opportunity to the talent of our country to learn new things, and how this can create more job opportunities.
See, the number of people coming nowadays, the other way you can put it is nowadays engineering is like SLC or PUC. Every other guy you know is an engineer, right? So even in Karnataka itself, almost 2.5 lakhs of engineers every year. So the thing which is going to differentiate is how much of practical experience you have, right? How much of understanding you are having. So I think we should go ahead and give more of practical knowledge, put them on hands-on, or put them in more of some company, something like that, so that they all have more ideas. And the second thing I can see is like most of them knows theoretical knowledge, or they can figure it out how to, remember that things. They just recall. They don't understand why it is being done. So I think we have to teach the basics in a way that they don't need to remember them. They have to understand how it is done. That is my take. Thank you.
Upskilling and reskilling is happening, I think, almost in every company. I come across news of how large organizations and medium and small are coordinating with other technology partners to do formal programs, informal programs, internal, external hackathons, and so on. We at Make My Trip also have kind of continuously adapting technology, especially given this is a text Gen AI era, and not just for helping customers and suppliers and then the products, but also to improve the productivity of whether it is developers or even all the business functions. We are using tools like Copilot and also that it helps us improve or be more productive. Besides that, I think almost there are continuous programs going on in terms of the new tech stack that's available, especially in terms of the AI, Gen AI, but besides that, even in other tech stack, so that the current employees and future would kind of know what they have to learn or kind of continuously upgrade their skill set.
So it's about developing a kind of a literacy amongst everyone about the new technology. So everybody should at least be in the know, so that when the time comes, you're able to actually implement that technology. The other is about how do you really become proficient in implementing it. Now, there's also a question of how much do you want to build it in-house versus how much do you want to really borrow the talent to really drive it for you. So it depends on where you need a depth of it, where you really need somebody to go from a business lens and go into the depth of the technology to implement it. I think in-house makes a lot of sense. When you're looking at a width where you want to understand how is it really being done at an industry level, what are the kinds of best practices you can get, I think that's where you kind of go for talent that's, externally sourced and, where you're able to get that kind of value from the talent.
With us, while we are training our current workforce on the next steps, we're also making sure that we bring in more fresh works or fresh brains into the system. Maybe not be the best of the talents, but yes, the ones coming out from the colleges and other factors, institutions, works well for us because they come with a fresh mind, right? And the fresh technology is adapted faster by them. So that's one area where we are working heavily on. One of the factors what we try to do is, while we are educating on what technology works for them, we are also letting them know what is the impact of the technology in the larger organization front. It's just not that, AI is coming, AI will do this X, Y, Z, or write A, B, C, D, and this is output. We tell them that by doing so, by if you put this as an input to this towards this technology, look at the growth which is happening to the organization, so on and so forth, and as well as an individual, how do you grow? What happens with that is there is a lot of ownership which is coming up now at the floor level and other parts, which is giving us a huge adaptability on the new technologies. In fact, I have started getting conversations from the floor saying that, Anil, why don't we look at something like this? This will help me or my team in this particular floor. That's a good conversation to have. I may not be available everywhere, I may not be knowing everything, but this type of education makes sense for us. What we right now we do is go, we have a class happening, you are supposed to do this, tick mark on your HRMS system, good to go. That's going on. We are doing the other way around now. We are trying to actually start bringing up what the value add are you going to get into the organization. That's working so far so good with us. And also, yes, the collaborative partners which we have around the ecosystem, I said they are up there to help us around bring this whole element to a notch above for us.
Absolutely.
Can I add one more
Yes,
thing?
yes.
See, most of the companies adopt a village or a zoo, something. I think going forward, they should adopt a college. They should give a lot of internship for the kids from the first year to final year. Right? It helps them because suddenly one fine day you cannot be in productivity on the first day, right? So you have to train them on basic how an organization works, how to navigate. See, we teach them soft skills, but I think we have to teach them more how to. The organization is always different, so you have to teach that way also.
That's a great point to say, adopting colleges and building the talent for the future, because technology is going to be all evolving. I mean, today it's AI, Gen AI, every few years. We don't know how rapidly it's going to evolve. So we are pretty much almost on the top of the hour. Just wanted to ask the audience if you have any specific questions or anything. Yes, please.
Hey, hi. My name is Manoj Kalore. I'm from Kimberly Clark. So my question to panel, whoever want to answer. So it's on the adoption and the business value generation out of our advanced analytics or Gen AI use case. So generally as a product team or technology delivery team, you think your product or feature is wow, but when it goes to production, there is no adoption. Nobody use or so it's like you know like every sprint, every agile process, how much effort you put, talent, everything goes for 6-7 months and there is no adoption. So how exactly you look how we can improve the adoption and business value generation?
I can take a step. See, the moment any feature or a functionality is taken, right, we try to do ROI, and ROI is always positive. But when we go into production, right, it's not even 1/100. But the learning we have is maybe people. See, one of the example I can give is we are showing a button and people like that button. But the moment we post for a larger group, right, people didn't like it because then we found out we understood the pattern of the guy and then we are showing him. For others, it's not like that. So ROI was still there, but when it goes into production, it not works out. But we find the gaps. The second thing, other thing helps us is whatever the code or something we develop, right? It's not a code throwaway. We reuse it, so we know where we have missed it, and then we again fix it, go back in the loop.
Let me take that part of it. There are two aspects to it, right? Adoption is just not your child, right? It's a collaborative between the client and the partner, right? One of the major challenges or which we as clients face is making sure that what is coming on board is percolated down to the TU or the user. That's the challenge which lies on. Second challenge which lies on is what you showcase on your presentations and or POCs and everything. It's not really what comes into production. Let's be fair out here, right? If you can bring that, if you can bridge that gap, and we bridge our gap of making sure the user is onboarded onto this platform, I think this failure ratio will go down. It's not about the failure of the product. It is the expectation settings which fails, and that's where the product goes on, right?
Change management. Change management is
I can
also
add
one of the
another
key
example.
pieces.
See, for example, whenever you check out in Tata CLiQ, right, we'll show you the preferred method. When we did our ROE or A/B testing, it was very minuscule, but in the end, it had an impact of 5% more sales. But there are other use cases where we thought the A/B testing was very good, but when we rolled out, it's not even 1% of it. So it happens. We just learn from that.
Cool. I know we are crossed our time, but any one last question else? Oh, I think, yeah. One at the back, please. Yeah.
Hi, my question is to Anvesha in particular because you are also heading e-com, right? Which is not only your D2C but also Unilever brands on different e-com websites. So when you use data, see, it's easier when you have your own D2C site and you collect insights, but are you able to use data insights effectively from different e-com platforms for your brands? And if yes, then how are you doing it? I'm Trishla.
Hi, Krishna. Good question. I'm also trying to answer that for myself. Yeah, so it's not easy to really get that data because we work with walled gardens, right? So different platforms have their own ways in which they guard their data because for them it's also their consumer data. So you do not always get the same level of information passed back. So a lot of times we also struggle with stuff like you don't know what really happened after the click, right? Because if it's gone to a walled garden, you don't know whether the purchase really happened. You can only assume a certain percentage of it would have converted. So that definitely does remain as a challenge. But what we're also seeing how the ecosystem is evolving is that there is a larger understanding of the fact that the more data comes back to an advertiser, the more they are ready to invest because they then understand that this is how it is really working. Yeah, so you see a lot of adoption coming in from players, at least, via say some exclusive partnerships, via say some specific campaigns where you're able to actually see the full funnel, etc. So you have, like collab is very big in other countries. It's not as big in India, right? But you see some, platforms picking up that format, like say a Meta collab, and you're able to get some data back in terms of the full funnel understanding. So that's happening. It's not like you have 100% visibility. You have to work with proxies. What you do have though is a larger understanding of say cohort level data. So that all is there. So as long as you at least have an understanding of the shopper behavior, you're able to build models that work for say different shopping missions across different platforms. But of course, in terms of identifiable data and trying to really see exactly how each shopping journey is going, that is challenging. So that is something that's work in progress. It's happening. We also have solutions like, we have these specific DSPs that, different platforms have come back with. But at least if you work with those DSPs, you get the full funnel because they at least, then help you with that. But of course, the challenge is that you only have to then look at that DSP. But I think it's an evolving narrative. But I mean, it's in the right direction, not there yet.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that, we come to the end of our session. So thank you so much, Thulasi, Narasimha, Anvesha, and Anil. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and views and your examples. I sincerely hope the audience found it relatable and useful. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.